What's up guys, this is Teddy. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This video we are going to be talking about template driven forms in Angular. Angular is well known for its form modules. You've got actually two modules to work with here. That's how much Angular cares about developers. It gives you template driven forms, which is obviously what we're talking about in this video. Then it also has reactive forms. Reactive forms are going to be very scalable, complex. They're more complex. You can test them. They're very testable. And you get to see a lot of what's going on underneath the hood. I'm sorry if you guys can't see that. Scalable, complex, and testable. Template-driven forms, which hooray, are very easy. Template-driven forms are very simple, very magic-y, very one-clicky, magic-y, one-clicky. You can't test them, unfortunately. So if you have a very simple form, template-driven forms are a lot of the times the way to go if you just need something very quick. But if you need a very complex form with a lot of validation, you need to make sure that your users are not displaying fake garbage data. You definitely want to go with reactive, but we're going to be talking about template today. So two terms that you definitely need to be familiar with are going to be ngModel and ngForm. ngModel you see all over the place. It's everywhere. ngModel is not just used in forms, but it's also used in data binding. ngForm is specific to template-driven forms. ngForm is what you actually initialize the form with. So if you look down here, I got a nice little example. Whenever you use the word ngForm, you are initializing the actual form, and it's within the form HTML elements. Whenever you use ngModel, which you do for property binding, what you are doing is you are binding to the TypeScript behind the HTML. So this model name property is going to be behind in the TypeScript somewhere, and that's what you're trying to reach into. And remember, whenever you see quotes like this, it usually means that there's some type of data being inputted in there. And when it's on the HTML like this, it means you want to go back into your TypeScript to look. Also, one other thing we can add to make this two-way binding, and if you don't know what two-way binding is, you probably need to go back and watch. That's very, it's like 101 Angular. We're kind of getting into intermediate a little bit, but if you don't know what two-way data binding is, just go watch my other video. But that's two-way binding in here, and two-way binding would be great for if you have a form, and I've mentioned this in previous videos. You have a form like you edit your Facebook account, and you need to go in and actually see the username and actually edit the username. You need that data back from the server. You need to see the username. That's when you use two-way binding as opposed to an empty form, which is going to be just property binding. So build, this is going to take the form of actually just setting up the HTML and also making sure that you have your model data or your model set up. And so in our case, we've been working on our Pokemon model. That is our model. Our HTML is this right here. So once you've got that set up, and this is pretty universal across all forms like build, bind, even Angular in their documentation has something along this lines. It's build, bind, track, submit. Those are the steps in a form. So now we've got like the actual infrastructure set up. Now we need to set up communication. That's where bind comes in. So communication, this is going to set up the actual form, and this is going to be a literal reference, a variable that we can tap into. So if you want to use this in other areas of your form, you can do that. And also the ngForm is just a, I don't know if it's a class or not, but it's going to set up everything in the background. What you have is you have like a form instantiation going on. There's like forms being instantiated back there, but you really don't need to worry about any of that. And just remember that as long as you have a template reference variable, this could be anything, but as long as you have ngForm in there, you're good to go. So, and then track, this is going to have to do with validation. So as I mentioned before, users will oftentimes submit garbage data. We're doing some very light validation in template forms, but just remember tracking is a form pretty much of validation. and checking if you can actually submit the form. Angular will have ways that you can block forms from being submitted, because if people are not filling out the forms right, you want them to be blocked. You want them to be locked out so that they can not submit that form. And then submit, we will talk about submit later on, but it's just kind of the way it sounds. You just need to submit a form. Okay, so enough chit chat. Let's go ahead and go in here. And what I am going to do is, instead of hooking all this up to this feature module right here and hooking it up into our detail, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in here and generate a component. And I'm just going to call it Pokemon template form. So Pokemon template form. Just like that, and it's going to generate all of that for us. So if you don't know how I did that, what I did is I have an extension called Angular Files. I use this quite a lot, and it's very helpful. So if you want to use that, you can, but if you just want to go do it in the command line, that's perfectly fine too. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I am actually going to make sure that this is set up. So Pokemon template form component, that's looking good, so we should be good to go on that. Next thing is we need to bring in our service to our Pokemon template form, because we need to we need to bring back data. I'm going to show you guys an example of two-way binding. Remember that. So when I was back in here, two-way binding, we're going to have two-way binding. We're going to have the banana in the box, and data is going to be coming back from the server. So what I'm going to do is bring just back one Pokemon. I'm not going to bring back more than one, and then going to pass a number into here, because a number has to get passed into the actual service. So actually I need to do this up here. So I'm going to go get Pokemon. So get Pokemon. And then I'm going to go in here just like I did before and go ahead, pass in a number. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to return this dot. I've already got HTTP hooked up, so I don't have to worry about that. Then I'm going to go here and make sure that I'm getting a Pokemon and not some other type of model, which I don't know how that would occur, but you never know. Always good to have a little bit of type checking regardless. Okay, so then I'm going to pass in my Pokemon API, and I'm just going to have a joker value for now so that we can come back and add this later. But for now, I am just going to manually insert this one so that we can get data back and we don't have to worry about a bunch of other stuff. Okay, so that's already figured out. The next thing that we want to do is we need to go back to our actual TypeScript in here, and I'm actually going to get rid of this, and I'm going to put this inside of the ng on init. I guess I don't have to, but I think it would look a little bit better if I did. So I'm going to go in here, and then I'm going to bring in my service. If you don't know what services are, I highly suggest you watch my video on that. It's very easy. It's not a difficult concept to understand. Then I'm going to go this.Pokemon service, get Pokemon. I'm going to pass in a 1, although it doesn't really even matter. And I'm going to go in here, data. We're going to return a Pokemon. Then go right here. And once I get this Pokemon back, what I'm going to do is pass this to our global variable up here, pass this data. So need to get that model, and I'm just going to go up here and have a Pokemon, bang, and that will insert the data that we get back from our service into there. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to actually build the HTML, and the way that we are going to do that is we're going to go into our form. So we've just got a form right here, and I'm going to go form, and then I am going to go right here. So Pokemon, then I'm going to have a pipe here. So if you don't know what a pipe is, this is a pipe, and this is going to be our model. and you'll see here in a second. A pipe is a nice little add-on that you can have to HTML, and it's always denoted by this pipe right here. It's, like I said, it's not complicated. It could be more complicated if you wanted to, but let's not do that right now. That is totally uncalled for. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring in Pokemon template form. So Pokemon template form. And I'm going to go ahead and serve it up, see if this thing is actually working. So it's taking a little bit, and I'm going over here. Okay, so form, we've got name, Pikachu. Yep, looks like it's coming back just fine, and it is showing up in the actual browser. So next thing that we need to do is we need to actually hook up our template form. Our template form's not even really hooked up. And the way that we do that, remember, we go in here, we have form, this is the variable, and then we have ngForm, and we do that within our form tag. So we go ngForm. And you might get this right here. So if you get this error, what you need to do is you actually need to go into your app module TS, and you need to bring in forms module. And very simple, VS Code should do that for you. If it didn't, that is the link up there so that you can go ahead and get it in there. So let's go up here and look at that. Our form is now ready to go. Next, we need to actually hook up some inputs. So we've already actually got like 90% of our form built out. Now what we need to do is start hooking up stuff. I mean, how are we going to see the data if we don't have any inputs? And we can't, you know, what's a form without an input? Just put it that way. So go in here, we're gonna go type, and we're gonna have text. Then we're gonna go up here, and we will have our two-way data binding. So we're gonna have ngModel, just like that. And what we are going to do is have our model with our property. So if you don't know what this is, and we're also going to have our name, this is really all you need. There's other stuff you could add in there too. You could add like validation, more stuff, but just for very simplest, just to kind of help people out who are just trying to figure out what an ngForm is, this is really it right here. So we've already talked about our ngModel, and just to kind of give you an idea of like what this is, you can right click on it, and if you didn't see what I did there, I just right clicked, I went to go to definition, and that's what our what is going in the quotes is the Pokemon. And you may be wondering, well, Teddy, like what about the name? And that we can access a name in there, because if I go to definition for our actual type right in here, look at that, we've got an actual name. So we need to make sure that the actual form is being populated. So we're going to go in here, and we're going to go form.value, and then we are going to display this as JSON. Now what we want to do is go in here and test it to make sure that the two-way data binding works for the name. Remember, we only hooked up the name. We haven't hooked up anything else. The Pokemon.name is right here. Name is right here. And then we can actually see inside of our form with this form.value. And I'll show you guys exactly what that means. So name, that is the name. And if I add those extra W's and R's to it, that is the means our template form is set up. We are ready to go. We are ready to move on. But anyway, that's going to be the video for today. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. If you did, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And as always, thank you for watching.